So 2.5 years ago, I fitted a yellow Powerflex Dogbone insert onto my Mark II Leon there. And in the video I said, the very first video on my channel actually, I said that I was planning on getting a red one fairly soon and testing the red one because it's slightly softer than the yellow one and popping on the car. 2.5 years later, I've finally got a red one to go on my car and see if there is a noticeable difference, because the yellow one does incur a lot more vibrations through the cabin of the Mark II Leons and other cars they get fitted to as well. I want to see if I can get the best of both worlds by being a little bit softer, but also given the improved responsiveness and gear changes of a Powerflex insert being fitted. We'll see in this video, I'll swap them over. It'll be the same process if you wanted to just fit one from scratch. I'll show you how I took the old one off and put the new one on. Just got to move a few Christmas decorations first out the way. This garage, I don't know if you can see that there, 1 degree, the temperature in this garage just now, it's freezing this morning. Move some Christmas decorations, and talking of Christmas, actually, I treated myself to a nice wee impact gun. So this brand new Milwaukee impact driver should hopefully take off the dreaded bolt that holds the washer and the bushing in place on the Dogbone insert. I remember the first time round I tried my electric one from Lidl's, which is not too bad, but it would not shift the bolt at all. So it'll be interesting to see if that reasonably expensive Milwaukee one will take it out no bother. I forgot to say as well that if you ever want to start your own YouTube channel, then just get a Mark II Leon to give you plenty of ideas and reasons to make videos, because as I'm making this one just now, I've just been on a Facebook group, replied to some comments, really helpful comments from guys who've said why my clutch pedal is sticking down on the ground sometimes. So if I go up to the traffic lights and I pull up and push my foot flat to the floor for maybe 5-10 seconds or so, then release the clutch, the pedal stays down. Some have said it's a master cylinder, so that would be the easiest fix above the pedal here. About 50-60 quid to replace it and a few minutes. Next option would be the slave cylinder, which is inside the gearbox, which will be a massive job to do. That video will be out at some point in the future, so if you want to make sure you catch that, make sure you're subscribed down below. As always when under your car, just make sure you're thinking safety first and you've got an axle stand in place as well. As much as I hate reading instructions for things, I should read the instructions for this impact gun because I was using the setting wrong here, hence why I wasn't taking the bolt out. So I used a breaker bar to initially loosen it, and then I took it out with the rest of the way with the impact gun. Now here comes the struggle of getting the old yellow insert out of the Dogbone bush. So I got one side out, not too bad, it came out quite easily, but the other side was not shifting at all. So this has proven a little bit awkward. It's come up one side not too bad, but the other side I can't get a screwdriver in because that side of the bush is like this bit, so it's all sealed off. So try and put a wee hole in that side and then push the long screwdriver through and lever it out. I don't think I'll put the yellow one back in, so if I ruin it, it's not an issue. But the one thing I don't want to do is leave bits of yellow bushing up inside that Dogbone mount. I need to get the whole lot out in one piece. I think even if you put a hole in that bit there to lever it out, I don't think it'd actually affect it if you put the bush back in, so it probably still could get reused. Wish me luck. So I started off with a small pick tool just to make an initial hole, and then I used a bigger screwdriver to try and open the hole up, and then finally the long screwdriver to lever the rest of the bush out. But yeah, it snapped part of the bush, it just went straight through it, so that was no use. I was kind of getting a bit fed up by this point, so I just started pulling really hard on the bush, and actually it started to slowly come out. So the more you pull down on it, it kind of just gradually slips out. Oh, holy moly. Oh, okay, just pull it. I then just doused the Dogbone bush with lots of WD-40, just trying to lubricate it up prior to the red one going in now. New Powerflex insert should come with a wee sachet of grease, so you just cover the insert with this grease to make it go in a lot easier. Now the trick is here not to try and hammer the bush in, just gently press it in, and if you keep continual pressure on it, it will just slowly push its way in. If you do have a spare jack, you can use that to try and press it in with a bit of wood under it. I did my previous video for the yellow insert, but it just seemed this one went in just by hand. Now, if you're subscribed to the monthly newsletter that I send out each month that's filled with car content, you'll have access also to these free job cards that I'm now making for each video. So every video will be detailed down on these job cards regarding the tools you require, the step-by-step process to go through, and also the torque values you require for any bolts or nuts. These job cards will be available for all upcoming videos, and I'm also planning on backdating all the previous videos on the channel as well. So if that might be of use to you, then just click the link down below in the description or the pinned comment in the comment section, and that will take you to a link to sign up to the newsletter and get access to these job cards. I picked up a brand new bolt to go back into the Dogbone bush because it's advised when you take the old one out that you don't reuse it. I added the big washer and the small washer on top that comes in the Perflex insert kit. The small washer just acts as a wee spacer between the base of the red insert and then the bottom of the Dogbone bush itself. So what exactly is a Dogbone mount? Well, it's for transversely mounted engines, that's ones that run from left to right in the engine bay, and these are mounted on the left hand side and the right hand side above the gearbox, and this is kind of basically like a swing effect on the engine. So imagine a swing with the engine sat in the middle. Now under hard acceleration or braking, the engine lightly moves forward and backwards. So the Dogbone mount is placed at the back against the subframe and onto the bottom of the engine, and this just stops the pendulum movement of the engine in these conditions. Now, if this was just made of solid metal, this would cause a lot of vibrations into the rest of the car through the chassis and the cabin of the car. So this is why the rubber mount is part of it as well, and this absorbs some of the vibrations and makes the car more usable day to day. The standard factory Dogbone bushes can be quite soft. This can sometimes lead to wheel hop under hard acceleration and also less responsive gear changes. This is why the inserts are used to fill the wee voids in the gaps of the rubber bush inside the Dogbone, and this just takes up a bit of the slack and then reduces wheel hop and makes gear changes a lot more responsive. So get the new bolt and washers in place and tighten up as much by hand as possible to make sure you don't cross thread the bolt. Then I put it in a bit with the impact gun and then finally torqued up to the following specs on screen. There's a few different variations to what torque spec this gets tightened to, but I decided to tighten up to 90 Newton meters and then a 90-degree turn afterwards. Yeah, that 90-degree turn makes a big difference when you're tightening up there actually. So the yellow one might be knackered, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go back to this anyway. If anyone wants like a slightly damaged yellow Perflex bush insert, give me a shout. I think I was using my new toy wrong because I had it on the wrong setting, which was why I think it wasn't taking the bolt out quite easily, because once I changed the setting it was really powerful putting it back in. I should have probably shown you a video of what it was like reversing the car or using it in first gear with the vibrations in the cabin. It's kind of hard to pick up though, because you kind of feel it more than hear it, unless your cabin is like mine and you can probably hear a lot of vibrations through random bits of plastic. But what I will do is I'll do a quick run up and down the driveway just now to see if I do notice a difference and let you know. Once I have driven it for a bit, I'll leave an update down below in the description if you check that out to see what I thought, if it has been a major improvement or not over the yellow one. It should be a lot softer. It's made for diesels, so obviously diesels move around a lot more inside the engine bay, and therefore they leave the bush insert slightly softer for diesel engines so you don't feel as many vibrations in the cabin. So I've gone backwards and forwards on the driveway a few times there to see if it felt any different, and just now it does feel pretty much the same as the yellow one, but I kind of expected that. It's going to take a few weeks for it to kind of bed in and soften slightly as well. So like I said, I'll leave an update down below in the description after a few weeks of use to say if it's actually a lot better or not. If you want to choose either the yellow one or the red one, I'll leave links down below to the item codes and descriptions where you can get them from. I think also there's two different shapes for both of them as well, so make sure you get the right shape that fits in your Dogbone mount insert as well, because I think halfway through the Mark II Leon's life they changed over the Dogbone itself. So in the end, relatively straightforward to change those two bushes over. Obviously you won't have the struggle of getting the old bush out like I did there if you're putting one on for the very first time. It was a pain, but finally thankfully did come out in the end. And I don't know if you noticed at all, but in the background there we have the white Ibiza in a few pieces sitting in the freezing cold conditions waiting to get seen to. So that is the plan next, is to get that in the garage now, get the turbo on, the whole engine serviced, all back together. Hopefully, fingers crossed, when I turn the key it starts, but we'll have to see how that video pans out anyway. And then MOT'd and on the road. So of course you want to catch that video and more videos on the channel, then hit the subscribe button down below, and if this video has been useful in any sort of way at all or entertaining, then hit the thumbs up button as well, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.